trade union Cosatu Western Cape says it will be marching to the Provincial Legislature and Parliament today as part of the provincial leg of the national one-day strike. The union's provincial secretary, Malvern De Bruyn, says the march is to highlight their unhappiness over the current state of the economy, job losses and high crime rates, among others. De Bruyn says the aim is to communicate through a memorandum that workers are disappointed in the lack of salary increases in the public sector that does not match up with the cost of living. Our reporter Vanessa Poonah is following the strike in Cape Town and she now joins us live. Vanessa, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Tell us about where you are and tell us about the people who have come out to be part of today's one-day strike.
Yes, good morning to you. A few supporters as well as Cosatu members and their affiliates have started gathering here at Hanover Street in District 6 in Cape Town this morning. Of course, this is ahead of that march you were talking about where they'll be taking memorandums to the Provincial Legislature as well as to National Parliament. A range of issues that they're highlighting today, among them, of course, the high unemployment rate in South Africa, high interest and inflation rates. And they're talking about a collaboration between provincial and national governments to tackle the issues of crime affecting various communities here in the Western Cape, but also nationally. Malvern De Bruyn, Provincial Secretary of Cosatu here in the Western Cape. You're expecting some 5,000-6,000 members on the picket line today, but you're saying that the reason you've come out and called this for this economic strike, socio-economic strike, is because it affects each and every person in South Africa. Talk to us a bit about what you're wanting the national government to do. Earlier I spoke to your colleague Mutlatsi Tsubani. He was talking about a reform in economic policy. What is your view on the issue around the fact that South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world?
Yeah, and I think Cosatu is very clear from day one. That's why we took our discussions to NETLEC as well, where we say to government, unemployment is out of us, out of line. What we're seeing here today, people are losing their jobs. There's a bloodbath in our country, and we are of the view that government is not doing enough to look at the question of unemployment. And we say enough is enough. We can't keep quiet while people are losing their jobs. We see communities going into demise because of the job loss in our country, and we have the view the government should do more. That's only one of the demands that we will have on our memorandum.
Talk to us a bit of the other demands. I mean, I know you've highlighted the high crime rate, for example. You've highlighted the issue of corruption and also the implementation of the Zondo Commission recommendations. What exactly will your memo to national government as well as provincial government entail?
Yeah, what we have said even to the provincial government, we've seen that we have law enforcement agencies within the province itself. But we don't see them doing enough, because the Premier can go out there and talk about the question of Russia, about arresting Putin, while they can't send the same officers to Nyanga, to Khayelitsha, to Menenberg, to Elsriver. Use those resources in the province.
But they would argue, Malvern, that they have instituted, for example, the LEAP program, where they've seen 1,200 officers in those very communities that you're talking about.
We don't see them on the ground. You only see them on paper and in the media, but you don't see them on the ground. So that's not really what's happening. These people are staying in this community. They don't see LEAP officers. They don't see law enforcement, people in our areas. The question of corruption is also a major thing nationally as well as provincially, and we feel the government should do more. People must go to jail if they are caught they're found guilty, and that's not happening. We are saying the Zondo Commission is now more than a year when they made the recommendation, and still up until today, nothing is happening in our areas. The Zondo Commission's recommendation was never implemented by government. We are saying do more. High interest rate is there. Cost of living going up on a daily basis, but we don't see real change for our people on the ground.
As part of the Tripartite Alliance, Malvern, in terms of this day of action by Cosatu, do you think it will make a difference? Do you think government will sit up and listen? And what happens after, you've handed over your memorandum today? What kind of action are you expecting, any, and also where to from there for the Trade Union Federation?
We will give them 14 days within which to respond. We all know that they can't give us real results within 14 days. But at least when they respond, they must tell us what plans will they put in place to ensure that they at least look into the interests of the working class. So we give them 14 days within which to respond with a plan. The province as well, they must tell us how will they deploy LEAP officers in the areas like Menenberg, Khayelitsha, but they will only tell us how they can deploy LEAP officers in places like Camps Bay and the white so-called areas. That's what we want. We want them in our townships where crime is a real issue.
Malvern De Bruyn, thank you so much for speaking to me. Of course, they're the Provincial Secretary of Cosatu here in the Western Cape. They, of course, are joined by quite a number of their affiliates, and, of course, some members have already started gathering here at Hanover Street in District 6, where very shortly we expect the march to kick off from here to Provincial Legislature and then also to Parliament here in Cape Town.